to come back, do you think you'd still be working with him?
No.
Okay. Okay, and
those are the words of Mark Tibbs as he confirms that he will not be working with Billy Joe Saunders if Billy Joe Saunders decides to come back to the sport of boxing or not. And the way he explained it, he didn't specify why. I can only imagine, and I'm about to explain, but he didn't explain why he would not be working with Billy Joe. He just knows he won't be working with Billy Joe. And let me counterpunch. If you look at Mark Tibbs, and based on the confusion, based on the controversial interview that he gave that night, I think a lot of people blamed him for implying that Billy Joe Saunders quit. And he told Billy Joe, or he said to the reporters, whoever would listen, that Billy Joe wasn't responding like he wanted him to respond. If you guys can remember that, that's what happened. Okay. And Mark Tibbs, they snatched every one of those off. Seconds Out, IFL, they all came off. MTK Global snatched all that shite off. Okay. And that's one thing I thought was just strange. And Billy Joe went to have surgery. He didn't talk for the long. He gave one statement on Instagram, but other than that, we didn't hear from him for a while. Okay, and then Ben Davison gave his 2 cents. Then Mark Tibbs and Ben Davison went back and forth on what, and these guys were kind of in cahoots with each other, right? And, that played out for a while. And, of course, the criticism came in on Billy Joe Saunders. Now, whatever happened between Mark Tibbs and Billy Joe, I think ended or happened that night. Okay, I think what the worst thing that could have happened to Mark Tibbs and Billy Joe happened right then and there after that fight was called out. And it was a good decision, I guess, if he was the one that primarily stopped it, or was it Billy Joe? I honestly don't remember which. I just think, and I know what Mark Tibbs said, and if Billy Joe is not working with Mark Tibbs anymore because of it, so be it. If he shattered his or fractured, same thing, his orbital bone, well, hey, what else could you really do about that at that point? I mean, what could you do? Because at the end of the day, you're looking at a person's health, and the way they explained it, like, he had to stop fighting or he would have probably went blind fighting a guy like Canelo. Especially you can't fight a guy that may be more than likely better than you, right? Or a very skillful guy that has all his senses and you have an eye missing. So Mark Tibbs confirms that he won't be working with Billy Joe. So obviously it was some type of subtle, probably understood, subliminal fallout between each other. But like I said, it all happened that night. Mark Tibbs, of course, he has his own things to do in the sport, but working with Billy Joe Saunders won't be one of them. Now, I'll say this because I talked a little bit today about my live stream about fighters separating from their trainers. Now, at least we know, and it's safe to say, what this ain't, because Abel Sanchez, Triple G, money. Andre Rozier, Danny Jacobs, money. Those type of issues had everything to do with money, dollar signs around them. In this case, I don't think that's the case. So at least we won't get to that greedy thing. Maybe it was a thing of self-respect. Maybe it was one of those Mark Breland versus Deontay Wilder things where like, hey, I told you to do something, you did it anyway, therefore you're fired or whatever, or I'm not working with you no more. Because I think more of a trainer versus fighter relationship is exactly that, a partnership versus, hey, you work for me or you train me. No, you guys work together to do one objective is winning, okay, and then keeping the fighter safe, okay. So the trainer definitely has a hand in that. But Mark Tibbs stonely says, no, Will you be working with him in the future? No. And he left no other questions. If you notice, the guy was like, well, all right. And then moving on. But anyway, it's crazy. But I mean, this stuff happens all the time. Mark Tibbs confirms that he will never or will not, let's say that, work with Billy Joe Saunders if Billy Joe Saunders decides to come back. Of course, tell me what you think. Please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.